The Cessna 172, the most popular passenger plane in history. 36 feet from wingtip to wingtip, 4 seats. The gentle giant of general aviation. For most people, this represents the sky. Safe, controlled, predictable. But what if I told you there were flying creatures so massive they made passenger planes look like toys? Tonight, you'll meet 9 aerial monsters, so colossal they could shadow entire cities. Some hunted humans from New Zealand's cliffs. Others soared for hours without flapping once. And number 1, it was the size of a fighter jet that could walk up to your front door. Stay until the end. You'll never look at the sky the same way again. Let's establish our baseline, the Cessna 172, the world's most common training aircraft and the backbone of general aviation. 36 feet of wingspan, 11 feet tall, 2,400 pounds fully loaded. For over 60 years, it's been humanity's introduction to powered flight. When you stand next to one, it feels substantial. That wingspan towers over you. The wing alone is longer than most people are tall. Inside, 4 people can travel comfortably at 140 miles per hour, looking down at the world from a safe 8,000 feet. Over 44,000 have been built, more than any other aircraft in history. For most pilots, the Cessna 172 represents mastery of the sky, the pinnacle of personal aviation. But that 36-foot wingspan that seems so impressive? It's barely a warm-up compared to the creatures that once ruled these same skies. Because the sky wasn't always ours. And the creatures that claimed it first didn't need engines. They didn't need fuel. They just needed to be massive, starting with a bird that turned humans into prey. We begin with Haast's eagle. And this one hits close to home, because it hunted us. Imagine being a Maori hunter in 14th century New Zealand. You're tracking moa, giant flightless birds, through mountain valleys. Then you hear it, a scream that turns your blood cold. Aquila murray, Haast's eagle, 10 feet of wingspan, 35 pounds of muscle, talon, and rage. A quarter the wingspan of our Cessna baseline. But here's what made it terrifying. Those talons were designed to crush the skulls of 500-pound moa. And when the moa started disappearing, it turned to the next available prey, us. Maori oral histories speak of puakai, giant eagles that snatched children and attacked adults. For centuries, Western science dismissed these as folklore. Then paleontologists found the bones. Haast's eagle wasn't legend, it was memory. The largest eagle ever to exist, and it shared New Zealand with humans for over 500 years. Every time you looked up, you were being evaluated. When the moa went extinct, so did Haast's eagle. But for 5 centuries, the sky belonged to something that saw us as food. 1 down. But if a 10-foot eagle that hunted humans disturbs you, the next creature could spot prey from 6 miles away. Number 8. Argentavis magnificens. And that name undersells the terror. 23 feet of wingspan. 60% the size of our Cessna baseline, the largest flying bird that ever existed. But wingspan was just the beginning. Argentavis had eyesight so acute it could spot a rabbit from 6 miles away. Let me put that in perspective. You're standing in a field. This creature is circling so high you can't even see it, but it can see you. And here's the most unsettling part. Argentavis could soar for hours without flapping once. It used thermal columns like aerial highways, gliding between mountain ranges without expending energy. Silent, patient, always watching. Modern Andean condors have 10-foot wingspans and seem enormous. Argentavis was over twice as large. What did it hunt? Everything. Ground sloths, early horses, anything that moved on the South American plains. For 5 million years, if you were a ground-dwelling mammal in South America, something was always watching you from above, something with the patience of death and the eyesight of a telescope. The sky was never empty. It was full of eyes. 2 down, but the next creature took ocean, soaring to a level that defied physics. Number 7, PELAGORNIS sandersi, the ultimate ocean voyager. 24 feet of wingspan. 2/3 the size of a Cessna 172, but built for an environment where landing meant death. The open ocean. No trees, no cliffs, No rest stops, just wind, waves, and whatever you could catch while flying. But Pelagornis had an adaptation that sounds like science fiction. Tooth-like projections along its beak, not real teeth. Birds lost those millions of years earlier, but serrated, backward-curving spikes that functioned exactly like teeth. It would skim the ocean surface at 40 miles per hour and snatch fish without breaking flight rhythm. Those pseudo-teeth ensured nothing escaped once caught. Modern albatrosses have 12-foot wingspans and can glide for hours. Pelagornis had twice the wingspan and could cross entire ocean basins. Storm systems that would ground modern aircraft were just express lanes for Pelagornis. Hurricane-force winds, perfect for long-distance travel. Its bones were so hollow, so perfectly engineered for flight, that the entire skeleton weighed less than the bird's flight muscles. For 15 million years, the oceans belonged to Pelagornis, a creature that never needed to land, never needed to rest. Just endless flight over endless water. But wait, every creature so far has been a bird. Evolved, familiar, understandable. Here's where things get different. Every creature so far was a bird. Feathers, hollow bones, descended from dinosaurs. Familiar, evolved, part of the natural order we understand. But the next 6 creatures? They're pterosaurs. Not birds, not dinosaurs, not anything that exists today. Flying reptiles with wing membranes stretched between finger bones longer than your arm. Creatures so alien that when we first found their fossils, we thought they were fake. Welcome to an era when the sky belonged to monsters. Number 6, Pteranodon, the pterosaur everyone thinks they know. You've seen it in Jurassic Park, museums, documentaries. But the real version was worse. 20 feet of wingspan, half the size of our Cessna baseline, but built like nothing that flies today. That wing wasn't feathers over bone. It was a leather membrane stretched between a fourth finger longer than a baseball bat. And that iconic crest? It wasn't decoration. It was a flight control system. A living rudder that let it make turns no modern aircraft could match. Pteranodon could dive from 500 feet, snatch a fish, and be airborne again in seconds. No flapping, no effort, just physics and alien engineering. But here's what the movies get wrong. When Pteranodon landed, it didn't perch like a bird. It walked. On all fours, using its wing fingers like crutches. Imagine seeing dozens of them walking around like giant leathery bats the size of hang gliders. To take off, it would vault into the air using all 4 limbs, then unfold wings that blocked out the sun. For 85 million years, Pteranodon ruled coastal skies. An alien creature perfectly adapted to an alien world. 5 down. But the next pterosaur made the oceans its personal hunting ground. Number 5, ORNITHOCHEIRUS, the ocean's apex aerial predator. 23 feet of wingspan, same size as Argentavis, but this wasn't a patient soarer. This was a pursuit predator. ORNITHOCHEIRUS could fly at 50 miles per hour just inches above ocean waves, using ground effect to maximize efficiency, like a prehistoric stealth bomber. Those jaws were lined with interlocking teeth designed for one purpose, grabbing fish without slowing down. It would approach schools of fish at cruising altitude, then drop to wave-top level and simply collect them. One pass, dozens of fish. No wasted motion. Modern pelicans dive for fish and look impressive. ORNITHOCHEIRUS was 4 times larger and never had to dive. It just took what it wanted. Its wing membranes were reinforced with internal fibers, natural carbon fiber that made them incredibly strong but impossibly light. Fossil sites suggest they migrated in groups, following fish populations across entire ocean basins. Imagine looking up and seeing a squadron of 23-foot pterosaurs flying in formation. The ocean surface was never safe. Something was always watching from above, ready to strike at 50 miles per hour. 4 down. But the next creature had a feature so bizarre, scientists still debate what it was for. Number 4, TROPEOGNATHUS, the pterosaur that breaks the rules. 27 feet of wingspan, 3/4 the size of a Cessna 172. But it's not the size that makes TROPEOGNATHUS unsettling. It's that thing on its head. a semicircular crest rising from the front of its snout, another at the back of its skull, like someone attached airplane fins to a giant pterosaur. Scientists think they were flight control surfaces, biological rudders that helped it maneuver despite its massive size. But honestly, they're still guessing. What we know is this: Tropeognathus was fast. Those crests weren't just decorative, they were functional aerodynamic equipment. Modern aircraft need vertical stabilizers to fly straight. Tropeognathus had them built into its skull. It hunted in shallow waters and river systems, using its bizarre head geometry to make impossibly sharp turns while skimming the surface. Different species had different crest shapes, suggesting they were also used for species recognition and display. Imagine being a smaller pterosaur and seeing that silhouette approaching. You'd know exactly what it was, and exactly how much trouble you were in. For millions of years, the strangest shape in the sky belonged to Tropeognathus, a creature so bizarre we're still trying to understand how it worked. 3 monsters down. But before we continue, we need to address the elephant in the room. Here's the question that haunts paleontology. How did creatures this large even fly? Modern aircraft engineering says there are limits to biological flight. Too much weight, not enough lift. Some scientists insist the largest pterosaurs couldn't fly. They were just gliders that launched from cliffs. Others point to advanced bone structures and flight adaptations that surpass modern engineering. The truth? Pterosaur bones were hollow, reinforced with internal struts, and lighter than anything we've engineered. They weren't just flying. They were flying better than we do. Which brings us to a creature so large, we're not even sure we have the measurements right. Number 3, ARAMBOURGIANIA, and we're entering unknown territory, 30-plus feet of wingspan, nearly the size of our entire Cessna baseline. But here's the problem with ARAMBOURGIANIA. We only have fragments, a piece of wing bone, part of a vertebra, fragments of skull. From these fragments, scientists estimate a wingspan larger than any pterosaur we've found complete skeletons for. But estimates based on fragments are estimates. Could be 30 feet, could be 35. Some suggest as large as 40 feet. All we know for certain is that it was massive. If the estimates are correct, ARAMBOURGIANIA would have been visible from miles away, a shadow that crossed entire valleys. Modern hang gliders have 30 to 35-foot wingspans and need humans to control them. ARAMBOURGIANIA was a living creature with a wingspan in that same range. Walking along a beach 70 million years ago and seeing that silhouette approach would have been humbling. We may never know exactly how large ARAMBOURGIANIA was, but we know it was large enough to make paleontologists argue about whether it could physically exist. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, because the truth might be more terrifying than our imagination. 2 creatures left, and the next one didn't need to fly to kill you. Number 2, HATZEGOPTERYX, the pterosaur that redefined terror. 33 feet of wingspan, nearly the size of our entire Cessna 172. But here's what made HATZEGOPTERYX uniquely terrifying. When it landed, it was 12 feet tall, the height of a giraffe, with the skull of a crocodile, and wings that could shadow a basketball court. But unlike other pterosaurs, HATZEGOPTERYX had something different. Reinforced skull bones, heavy, built for impact. Most pterosaurs had delicate, lightweight skulls optimized for flight. HATZEGOPTERYX had a skull built for violence. Because HATZEGOPTERYX didn't just fly and hunt fish. It walked across the landscape and hunted dinosaurs. Imagine being a small dinosaur and having this thing walk up to you, 12 feet tall, jaws longer than your entire body, wings folded like a nightmare cloak. It didn't need to fly to kill you. It just walked over and ate you. Standing next to HATZEGOPTERYX, a human would reach about halfway up its leg. You wouldn't be prey. You'd be a snack. And when it decided to fly, those 33-foot wings would blot out the sun as it lifted its giraffe-sized body into the air. For millions of years, Hatzeg Island belonged to HATZEGOPTERYX, a creature that ruled both ground and sky, a walking, flying nightmare that made every other predator look small. 1 creature left. Number 1, Quetzalcoatlus northropi, named after the Aztec feathered serpent god, and when you see why, you'll understand the reverence. 36 feet of wingspan, exactly the same as a Cessna 172. But Quetzalcoatlus wasn't just the size of a small aircraft. It was 18 feet tall when standing, taller than a giraffe, taller than most trees, taller than anything that had any right to fly. Modern F-16 fighter jets have wingspans of 32 feet. Quetzalcoatlus was larger than a military fighter aircraft, but here's what makes Quetzalcoatlus genuinely unsettling. It didn't just fly. It walked across continents, like a giraffe-sized ground predator that happened to have wings. Scientists believe Quetzalcoatlus spent most of its time on the ground, walking through forests and plains, hunting small dinosaurs and mammals. When it spotted prey at distance, it would simply take off. 18 feet of height, 36 feet of wings, launching into the air with the grace of something that was born to fly. Once airborne, it could soar for hundreds of miles without flapping, using thermals and wind currents like natural highways between hunting grounds. Imagine looking up 68 million years ago and seeing these silhouettes against the sky. Wings that spanned the length of fighter jets, bodies tall as giraffes, flying with the effortless grace of gods. And when they landed in your territory, you didn't just have an aerial predator to worry about. You had an 18-foot-tall walking nightmare with a skull longer than your entire body. For 10 million years, Quetzalcoatlus ruled both ground and sky, the largest flying creature ever to exist. A living aircraft with the hunting instincts of an apex predator. When Quetzalcoatlus went extinct 66 million years ago, the sky became smaller, less dangerous, less magnificent. We've never seen its equal, and we never will again. 9 flying monsters bigger than passenger planes, from human hunting eagles to creatures the size of fighter jets. Today, when we look up, we see contrails and passenger jets. Safe, predictable, small. Our Cessna, 172, 36 feet of wingspan, represents the pinnacle of personal aviation. But once, the sky belonged to creatures that made our aircraft look like toys. We think we've conquered the sky, but we didn't conquer it. We inherited it. So here's my question. Which flying monster terrified you most? And honestly, knowing creatures the size of fighter jets once walked the earth and took flight, does that make you grateful we live when we do? Tell me in the comments. And if this made you look up at the sky differently, hit subscribe. Because next week we're investigating lake monsters with evidence scientists can't explain. The sky remembers what it used to be.
Even if we've forgotten.